Maya stared at her phone screen, the bright numbers glowing back at her like a cruel joke. Bank balance, $47.23. Rent was due in 5 days and she still needed groceries for the week. Her stomach twisted into knots as she set the phone down on their tiny kitchen table, trying to keep her face calm for Lily, who was sitting across from her, carefully coloring inside the lines of a princess coloring book. "Mommy, look, I made her dress purple because it's your favorite color," 6-year-old Lily announced proudly, holding up her masterpiece with a gap-toothed grin. Maya forced a smile, her heart breaking a little. Even in their toughest moments, her daughter somehow found ways to think of others. "It's beautiful, sweetheart. She looks like a real princess." The apartment around them told the story of their struggles. The living room furniture consisted of a hand-me-down couch from Maya's sister and a coffee table she'd found on the curb 2 months ago. The walls were bare except for Lily's artwork, which Maya had carefully taped up to make their small space feel more like home. The refrigerator hummed loudly, and Maya knew it was probably on its last leg, just like everything else in their lives seemed to be. 3 months ago, everything had been different. Maya had worked as a marketing assistant at a mid-sized company for 2 years, finally feeling like she was building something stable for her and Lily. The job wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills, offered decent health insurance, and most importantly, had flexible hours that let her pick Lily up from school every day. Then came the meeting that changed everything. "Budget cuts," her boss had said, not even looking her in the eye. "We're letting go of the entire marketing support team." Just like that, Maya found herself unemployed along with 6 other people, all of them staring at pink slips like they were written in a foreign language. The unemployment benefits helped at first, but they weren't enough to cover rent, utilities, groceries, and Lily's after-school care. Maya had burned through her small emergency fund in the first month, then sold everything she could spare, her grandmother's jewelry, the nice coffee maker she'd bought herself last Christmas, even some of Lily's toys that she'd outgrown. It killed her to do it, but keeping a roof over their heads was more important than keeping things. Job hunting had become Maya's full-time job, but it felt like screaming into the void. She'd sent out over 100 applications in 3 months. Customer service, administrative work, marketing positions, even retail jobs. Most companies didn't bother responding at all. The few that did either offered part-time work with no benefits or required experience she didn't have. Then last Tuesday, her phone rang. "Hello, is this Maya Rodriguez?" The voice was professional but friendly. "Yes, this is Maya. This is Jennifer from Pinnacle Marketing Group. We received your application for the marketing coordinator position, and we'd like to invite you for an interview." Maya's heart had jumped so high she thought it might burst out of her chest. Pinnacle Marketing Group was one of the biggest marketing firms in the city. She'd applied there weeks ago but never expected to hear back. "That's wonderful. When would you like to schedule the interview?" "How about this Friday at 2 p.m.? Our offices are downtown on 5th Street. Friday." That was tomorrow now. Maya had spent the entire week preparing, researching the company online at the public library, while Lily played in the children's section. She'd practiced her answers to common interview questions, written and rewritten her talking points, and even watched YouTube videos about interviewing tips. The biggest problem was what to wear. Her old work clothes were too casual for a company like Pinnacle, and buying a new outfit was impossible with their budget. Yesterday morning, she'd swallowed her pride and taken the bus to the Goodwill store across town, Lily in tow. "Why are we shopping here, Mommy?" Lily had asked, wrinkling her nose at the musty smell. "Sometimes you can find really good treasures in places like this," Maya had explained, which was partially true. She just didn't mention that treasures were all they could afford. After an hour of searching, Maya found a navy blue blazer that fit reasonably well and a matching skirt that was only slightly too long. Total cost $18, which left them with less than $30 until her next unemployment check. But looking at herself in the store's cracked mirror, Maya felt a spark of hope. She looked professional. She looked like someone who belonged in a corporate office. The night before the interview, Maya lay awake staring at the ceiling, her mind racing. This job could change everything. The salary listed in the job posting was more than she'd ever made before. With that kind of income, she could get them into a better apartment, maybe even one with a playground nearby. Lily could take dance classes like she'd been asking about. Maya could stop lying awake at night wondering how she was going to pay for groceries. But doubt crept in too. What if she messed up the interview? What if they could tell she was desperate? What if they asked about the gap in her employment and decided she wasn't worth the risk? Stop it, she whispered to herself in the dark. You're qualified. You're smart. You can do this. Friday morning arrived gray and drizzling. Maya's alarm went off at 6 a.m., though she'd been awake for an hour already. She made breakfast for Lily, scrambled eggs and toast, using up the last 2 eggs in the refrigerator, and helped her daughter get ready for school. You look fancy. Mommy, Lily said as Maya adjusted her blazer for the 10th time. I have that important meeting today, remember? The one that might help us get a better apartment? Lily nodded seriously. At 6, she understood more than Maya sometimes wished she did about their financial situation. Kids were perceptive that way. The plan had been simple. Drop Lily off at school, take the bus downtown for the 2 p.m. interview, then pick Lily up from after-school care afterward. But at 11 a.m., Maya's phone rang with devastating news. Miss Rodriguez, this is Carol from Sunny Days After Care. I'm afraid we had a pipe burst in our main room, and we're going to be closed for the rest of the day. You'll need to arrange alternative care for Lily. Maya's blood ran cold. Her mother was working a double shift at the hospital and wouldn't be off until midnight. Her sister lived 2 hours away. She didn't have money for a babysitter, and even if she did, it was too short notice to find someone trustworthy. For a moment, Maya considered calling Pinnacle to reschedule. But who knew when they'd be willing to see her again? This opportunity might not come around twice. Maya picked up Lily from school with shaking hands, her mind racing through impossible options. As they sat on the bus heading downtown, Lily chatted about her day, completely unaware that their entire future was hanging in the balance. Where are we going, Mommy? Lily asked as unfamiliar buildings rushed past the window. Maya took a deep breath. We're going to visit Mommy's possible new job. You're going to need to be very quiet and very good, okay? Can you do that for me? Lily nodded eagerly. I can be the best listener ever. Looking at her daughter's trusting face, Maya made a decision that would change both their lives forever. She was going to that interview, even if it meant bringing Lily along. Some risks were worth taking, especially when you were fighting for your child's future. The bus pulled up to the gleaming downtown office building, and Maya grabbed Lily's hand tightly. Whatever happened next, at least she could say she tried. The glass doors of Pinnacle Marketing Group reflected Maya's nervous face as she approached the building. The skyscraper towered above them, all gleaming windows and polished steel, making her feel like an ant approaching a giant's castle. Lily pressed her small nose against the glass, her breath creating tiny fog circles. Wow, Mommy, it's so tall. Do people really work up in the clouds? Maya managed a weak smile. Not quite the clouds, baby, but pretty high up. Her palms were sweating as she pulled open the heavy glass door, the cool air conditioning hitting them like a wall. The lobby was even more intimidating than she'd imagined. Marble floors stretched endlessly, reflecting the light from an enormous crystal chandelier hanging overhead. The walls were covered with awards and certificates, and everything looked expensive and untouchable. People in sharp suits walked briskly across the lobby, their heels clicking against the marble like a symphony of success. Everyone looked like they belonged here, like they were born wearing designer clothes and carrying leather briefcases. Maya suddenly felt very aware of her thrift store blazer and the small run in her pantyhose that she'd tried to hide with nail polish. Stay close to me, Maya whispered to Lily, who was staring wide-eyed at everything around them. The reception desk sat in the center of the lobby like a fortress, made of the same dark marble as the walls. Behind it sat a woman who looked like she'd stepped out of a fashion magazine. Her silver hair was pulled back in a perfect bun, her makeup was flawless, and her burgundy suit probably cost more than Maya's rent. A nameplate on her desk read, Victoria Sterling. Maya approached slowly, her heart hammering so loud she was sure everyone could hear it. Lily's hand felt tiny and warm in hers, and she squeezed it gently for courage. Excuse me, Maya said, trying to keep her voice steady. I'm Maya Rodriguez. I have a 2 p.m. interview for the marketing coordinator position. Victoria looked up from her computer screen, her pale blue eyes scanning Maya from head to toe. Her gaze lingered on Maya's outfit for just a moment too long, and Maya felt her cheeks burn. Then Victoria's eyes moved down to Lily and her expression changed completely. I'm sorry, what did you say? Victoria's voice was crisp and cold, like she was speaking to someone who'd interrupted something very important. Maya Rodriguez. 2 p.m. interview with the marketing department, Maya repeated, her voice getting smaller. Victoria's perfectly shaped eyebrows rose. And this is? Maya felt Lily shrink closer to her leg. This is my daughter Lily. I had a childcare emergency today and I was hoping, absolutely not. Victoria's voice cut through Maya's explanation like a knife. Children are not permitted in our offices during business hours. This is a professional environment, not a daycare center. The words hit Maya like a physical blow. Around them, other people in the lobby had started to notice the commotion. A man in an expensive suit glanced over with obvious disapproval. 2 women by the elevators whispered to each other, their eyes fixed on Maya and Lily. I understand this isn't ideal, Maya said, fighting to keep her voice calm, but I'm a single mother, and my regular child care fell through at the last minute. My daughter is very well behaved and she won't be any trouble. She can just sit quietly while I interview. Victoria looked at Maya like she'd suggested bringing a wild animal into the office. Miss Rodriguez, is it? Let me explain something to you. Pinnacle Marketing Group is a Fortune 500 company. We maintain certain standards of professionalism that clearly you don't understand. Lily tugged on Maya's hand. Mommy, what's wrong? Why is the lady being mean? Maya's heart shattered. She knelt down to Lily's level, trying to keep her voice gentle. Nothing's wrong, sweetheart. The lady is just explaining the rules. But Victoria wasn't finished. She stood up from her desk, her full height making her even more intimidating. Furthermore, Miss Rodriguez, the fact that you would even consider bringing a child to a job interview shows a concerning lack of judgment. How are we supposed to trust you with important marketing campaigns if you can't even manage your personal responsibilities? Maya stood back up, her face burning with shame and anger. My personal responsibilities include taking care of my daughter, and sometimes that means making difficult choices. I'm sorry if that doesn't fit your idea of professionalism, but I'm still a qualified candidate. Are you, though? Victoria's smile was sharp as a blade. Because from where I'm standing, you look like someone who can't separate their personal problems from their professional obligations. The elevator dinged, and out stepped a tall man in his 40s, wearing a dark suit and wire-rimmed glasses. His brown hair was perfectly styled, and he carried himself with the confidence of someone used to being in charge. Maya noticed his name tag read, Robert Hayes, Human Resources Director. Victoria, is there a problem here? His voice carried authority, but Maya caught him looking at her and Lily with the same disapproving expression. Mr. Hayes, this woman brought her child to a job interview. I was just explaining our policies. Robert's expression grew stern as he looked at Maya. Miss Rodriguez, I assume. I'm Robert Hayes, HR Director. While I understand that childcare can be challenging, bringing children to job interviews is highly inappropriate and, frankly, unprofessional. Maya felt like the walls were closing in on her. Sir, I completely understand that this isn't normal, but I've been unemployed for 3 months and this interview could change my daughter's life. My child care provider had an emergency, and I didn't have any other options. I promise she won't be any trouble. Robert shook his head. Miss Rodriguez, let me be direct. The position you're applying for requires someone who can handle unexpected challenges with poise and proper planning. The fact that you couldn't secure appropriate childcare for something as important as a job interview raises serious questions about your organizational skills and priorities. Lily had been quiet through most of the conversation, but now Maya could see tears forming in her daughter's eyes. The 6-year-old didn't understand all the words, but she could feel the tension and disapproval radiating from the adults around them. Maybe we should reschedule, Maya said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. She could feel the stares from everyone in the lobby, could hear the whispered comments from the other professionals watching the scene unfold. That won't be necessary, Victoria said, her tone final. I think it's clear that you're not the right fit for Pinnacle Marketing Group. We need employees who understand the importance of maintaining professional boundaries. Robert nodded in agreement. I have to concur with Victoria. This demonstrates a lack of judgment that would be concerning in any role, but especially in marketing where client relationships are paramount. What would our clients think if we brought children to meetings? Maya's eyes filled with tears, but she refused to let them fall. Not here, not in front of these people who had already decided she wasn't worth their time. She thought about the $47 in her bank account. About the rent that was due in 5 days, about all the other job applications that had disappeared into the void. "I understand," she said, her voice steady despite the pain crushing her chest. "I'm sorry for wasting your time." She turned to leave, her hand still holding Lily's, when she heard Victoria's voice behind her. "Next time, Miss Rodriguez, perhaps you should consider whether you're truly ready to re-enter the professional world before wasting a company's time." The words followed Maya as she walked toward the glass doors. Each step feeling heavier than the last, Lily looked up at her with confused, sad eyes. "Mommy, are you okay? Are we going home now?" Maya squeezed her daughter's hand, trying to find words that wouldn't scare her. Around them, the lobby had returned to its normal rhythm. People going about their business as if Maya's entire world hadn't just collapsed in the space of 10 minutes. Just as they reached the elevator bank, Maya heard the soft ding of arriving doors. She didn't look back, couldn't bear to face any more disapproving stares. But sometimes the universe has different plans than the ones we make for ourselves. The elevator doors opened with a soft whisper, and Maya felt her heart sink even further. She just wanted to disappear, to get out of this marble prison where everyone looked at her like she was something stuck to their expensive shoes. Lily's small hand trembled in hers, and Maya could tell her daughter was picking up on all the tension around them. "Come on, baby," Maya whispered, her voice thick with unshed tears. "Let's go home." But as they stepped toward the elevator, Maya nearly collided with a man stepping out. She mumbled a quick apology, keeping her eyes down, not wanting to face another judgmental stare. "Oh, excuse me," came a gentle voice. "No harm done." Maya glanced up quickly and saw a man in his early 50s with kind brown eyes and salt and pepper hair. His suit was clearly expensive, but unlike the others in the lobby, he wasn't wearing it like armor. There was something warm about his presence, something that made the intimidating lobby feel a little less cold. Daniel Chen had just returned from a lunch meeting with their biggest client, his mind already shifting to the afternoon's board presentation. He'd built Pinnacle Marketing Group from a small startup 20 years ago into one of the city's most successful firms. But success had never made him forget where he came from. As he stepped out of the elevator, he was thinking about the new community outreach program he wanted to implement when someone nearly bumped into him. The quick apology came from a young woman in a navy blazer, her head down like she was carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders. Beside her stood a little girl with pigtails and wide, curious eyes that reminded him of his own daughter at that age. "No problem at all," Daniel said softly, noticing how the woman seemed ready to bolt. Something about the scene struck him as odd. The woman was dressed professionally, clearly here for business, but she looked defeated in a way that had nothing to do with work stress. The little girl was holding a small coloring book and a box of crayons clutched tightly against her chest. As Maya stepped back to make room, one of Lily's crayons, a bright red one that had seen better days, slipped from the box and rolled across the polished marble floor, coming to rest right at Daniel's feet. Most executives would have stepped over it, maybe gestured for security to clean it up. Daniel Chen knelt down and picked up the crayon, examining it with the seriousness of someone appraising a precious gem. "This is a very important crayon," he said solemnly, looking directly at Lily. "Red is the color of fire trucks and roses and superhero capes." Lily's face lit up like a Christmas tree. "It's my favorite one. I use it for drawing hearts and apples and my mommy's lipstick when she gets dressed up." "Those sound like very important drawings," Daniel said, handing the crayon back to her with a small bow. "What else do you like to draw?" Maya stood frozen, watching this interaction. After the cold treatment from Victoria and Robert, this man's kindness toward her daughter felt like stepping into warm sunlight after being caught in a thunderstorm. But she was still afraid to hope, still waiting for the other shoe to drop. "I draw houses with big windows so the sunshine can come in," Lily said, warming up to this friendly stranger. "And I draw my mommy at her new job, except she doesn't have one yet, but she's gonna get one today." Daniel's eyes flicked up to Maya, and she saw understanding dawn in his expression. "A new job? That's exciting. Is your mommy very smart?" "She's the smartest mommy in the whole world. She knows all the words in books, and she makes the best pancakes, and she's really good at computers. She's going to help a company tell people about their stuff." "That does sound like very important work," Daniel said, still crouched at Lily's level. He glanced at Maya again, noticing the folder of papers in her hand, the careful way she'd dressed, the mixture of hope and desperation in her eyes. Maya finally found her voice. "I'm sorry, sir. We were just leaving. I don't want to take up any more of your time." Something in her tone, resigned, defeated, made Daniel stand up slowly. He looked around the lobby and noticed Victoria watching them with obvious disapproval. Robert was standing nearby, checking his watch impatiently. The pieces of the puzzle started falling into place. "Leaving?" Daniel asked carefully. "But didn't someone just tell me about an important job interview?" Lily nodded enthusiastically.
"Mommy has an interview at 2 o'clock.
She studied really hard and got her special clothes and everything. But the mean lady at the desk said I can't be here because kids aren't allowed. Daniel's expression shifted almost imperceptibly. 20 years of running a company had taught him to read situations quickly, and what he was seeing made his jaw tighten. "The mean lady said that, did she?" Maya felt her cheeks burn. "Sir, I'm sorry. There was a childcare emergency, and I didn't have anywhere else to take her." "I know it's not professional, and I completely understand." "What's not professional?" Daniel interrupted gently. "Is judging a parent for dealing with an impossible situation." Victoria had been watching the conversation with growing unease. She approached them now, her heels clicking sharply against the marble. "Mr. Chen, I was just explaining to this woman that children aren't permitted in the office during business hours." "I'm sorry she's bothering you." Daniel looked at Victoria for a long moment. "Bothering me? This young lady was just telling me about her artwork. I find that quite delightful, actually." Robert joined them, looking nervous. "Sir, this is the candidate who brought her child to the interview. We were just explaining that this kind of unprofessionalism isn't acceptable at Pinnacle." "Unprofessionalism?" Daniel's voice remained calm, but Maya caught a steel undertone that made Victoria and Robert both straighten unconsciously. "Tell me, what do you know about this candidate's qualifications?" Robert shuffled through some papers. "Well, she applied for the marketing coordinator position, but given the circumstances..." "Given what circumstances exactly?" Daniel asked. "That she's a single mother who faced a child care emergency and still chose to honor her commitment to this interview? That she taught her daughter to be polite and well-behaved in professional settings? That sounds like exactly the kind of problem-solving and dedication we should value." Maya stared at this man in shock. In 5 minutes, he'd shown more understanding than she'd received in months of job hunting. But she still didn't dare to hope too much. People said kind things sometimes, but that didn't mean they followed through. Lily tugged on Daniel's suit jacket. "Are you the boss here?" "You talk like a boss. My mommy says bosses get to decide things." Daniel smiled down at her. "I am a boss, as a matter of fact. And you know what bosses are supposed to do?" "What?" "We're supposed to make sure everyone gets treated fairly, especially mommies who are working really hard to take care of their little girls." He looked back at Maya, and she saw something in his eyes that made her breath catch. Not pity, not charity, but recognition. Like he saw her not as a problem to be solved, but as a person with value. "Miss Rodriguez, I believe it was. I think there's been a misunderstanding here. You came for an interview at 2 p.m. and it's now..." He checked his watch. 2:15. "I apologize for keeping you waiting." Victoria's face went white. "Mr. Chen, surely you're not suggesting..." "I'm not suggesting anything," Daniel said firmly. "I'm stating that this woman deserves the interview she was promised. And if our current staff can't see past their own prejudices to recognize potential when it walks through our door, then perhaps we need to reevaluate more than just our hiring practices." Maya felt tears prick her eyes. But for the first time all day, they weren't tears of shame. "Sir, Thank you, but you don't have to..." "Miss Rodriguez," Daniel said, extending his hand to her. "I'm Daniel Chen, and I own this company. Would you mind if I conducted your interview personally?" Maya stared at Daniel's outstretched hand, hardly daring to believe what she was hearing. "You? You own this company?" "Guilty as charged," Daniel said with a warm smile. "And right now, I'm very interested in hearing what you have to say about marketing." Victoria looked like she'd swallowed something sour. "Mr. Chen, perhaps we should discuss this privately first. There are protocols." "Victoria." Daniel's voice remained pleasant, but there was steel underneath. "I think you've done quite enough discussing for one day. Why don't you and Robert take the rest of the afternoon to review our company handbook, particularly the sections about treating all candidates with respect and dignity?" Robert's face went red. "Sir, we were just following standard policies." "Were you?" Daniel asked, turning to face him fully. Because I don't remember writing any policy that says we judge people based on their personal circumstances rather than their qualifications. Maya watched this exchange in amazement. 20 minutes ago, these same people had made her feel like dirt on their shoes. Now they looked like children being scolded by their teacher. Daniel turned back to Maya and Lily. Now then, I believe we have an interview to conduct. Lily, do you think the conference room on the 20th floor would be fancy enough for your mom's important meeting? Lily's eyes grew wide. The 20th floor? That's almost in the clouds. Not quite, Daniel chuckled, but the view is pretty spectacular. And I happen to know there's a whole drawer full of coloring books and crayons up there. What do you say we go take a look? As they walked toward the elevator, Maya felt like she was in some kind of dream. The same people who had been staring at her with judgment now watched with curiosity, and in some cases what looked like admiration. Daniel Chen's presence seemed to change the entire atmosphere of the lobby. In the elevator, Lily pressed her nose to the glass wall, watching the city shrink below them. Mommy, look! The cars look like toys. Maya tried to calm her racing heart. This was really happening. She was about to interview with the CEO of one of the biggest marketing firms in the city, but instead of feeling more nervous, she felt something she hadn't experienced in months. Hope. So, Maya, Daniel said as they rode up, Lily tells me you're very good with computers. What kind of marketing experience do you have? Before Maya could answer, Lily piped up. She made a whole website for Mrs. Peterson's bakery, and she helped my school make flyers for the book fair that look super pretty. Daniel raised an eyebrow. Is that so? Tell me about the bakery website. Maya felt a blush creep up her cheeks. It wasn't anything fancy. My neighbor Mrs. Peterson has this little bakery, and she was struggling to get customers. I offered to help her create a simple website and set up social media accounts. Within 3 months, her sales increased by 40%. 40%. Daniel looked impressed. That's not nothing fancy, that's excellent results. Did you do it for free? She paid me in cookies and bread, Maya said quietly. But honestly, it felt good to help someone's business grow. I've always loved the creative side of marketing, figuring out how to tell a story that makes people care about a product. The elevator dinged, and the doors opened to reveal a stunning office floor with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the entire city. Lily gasped and ran to the windows, her coloring book pressed against the glass. This is where the magic happens, Daniel said, leading them into a spacious conference room. True to his word, there was indeed a drawer filled with art supplies. He pulled it open and gestured for Lily to help herself. Now I can draw the whole city, Lily exclaimed, settling into a chair at the end of the long conference table. Daniel sat across from Maya, but instead of the formal interrogation she'd expected, he leaned back in his chair with genuine interest. Tell me about your previous job. What did you like about it, and what would you have changed? For the next 30 minutes, Maya found herself in the most natural job interview of her life. Daniel asked thoughtful questions about her experience, her ideas for digital marketing strategies, and her thoughts on building customer relationships. Instead of trying to trip her up, he seemed genuinely interested in her perspectives. You mentioned you've been unemployed for 3 months, Daniel said. How have you been staying current with marketing trends during that time? I've been taking free online courses through the public library, Maya explained. Google Analytics, social media advertising, content strategy. I figured if I was going to be out of work, I might as well use the time to improve my skills. That shows incredible initiative, Daniel nodded. What's been the hardest part about your job search? Maya hesitated. She could give the safe professional answer, or she could be honest. Daniel's kind eyes encouraged honesty. The hardest part has been feeling like I'm not seen as a whole person, she said slowly. I'm not just a single mom who might be unreliable. I'm someone who works twice as hard because I have something precious to work for. I'm someone who understands customer loyalty because I know what it's like to need businesses to care about your individual situation. Daniel was quiet for a moment, and Maya worried she'd said too much. Then he spoke, his voice softer than before. Can I share something with you, Maya? I was a single father for 8 years after my wife passed away when my daughter was 3. I remember job interviews where people would ask who was watching my child, whether I could handle business travel, if my personal responsibilities would interfere with my work. I built this company partly because I wanted to create a place where talent mattered more than circumstances. Maya felt tears prick her eyes again. I had no idea. I'm sorry for your loss, thank you. My daughter is 22 now, a marketing major at the state university actually. Looking at you and Lily reminds me of those early days when it felt like the whole world was against us. Lily looked up from her drawing. Mr. Daniel, do you want to see what I made? It's our whole family in your building. She held up a picture that made both adults smile. There was Maya in her blue suit standing next to a tall building, Lily with her pigtails and big smile, and surprisingly, a figure that looked like Daniel with a kind face and outstretched hands. That's beautiful, Lily, Daniel said seriously. Can I keep this for my office? Really? You want to keep my drawing? I would be honored. Daniel turned back to Maya. I have to tell you, in 20 years of running this company, I've rarely met someone who impressed me as much as you have in the last hour. Your experience with the bakery shows you understand small business needs. Your continued education shows dedication. And your grace under pressure today shows character. Maya's heart was pounding. Mr. Chen, please call me Daniel. And let me ask you something. The marketing coordinator position you applied for starts at $55,000 a year. But I'm wondering if you'd be interested in discussing a senior marketing specialist position instead. It starts at $72,000 with full benefits, flexible scheduling, and opportunities for advancement. Maya's mouth fell open. $72,000 was more than she'd ever dreamed of making. It was security, it was hope, it was everything she'd been fighting for. Yes, she managed to say. Yes, I would be very interested in discussing that. Daniel smiled. Excellent. There's just one more thing we need to address. His expression grew serious. I'm going to be making some changes around here, starting with mandatory training on unconscious bias and respectful treatment of all candidates. What happened to you today should never happen to anyone. Maya looked at this man who had turned her worst day into the best day in months, and she knew her life was about to change forever. 3 months later, Maya walked through the same glass doors of Pinnacle Marketing Group, but everything felt different now. The marble lobby no longer intimidated her. The expensive suits and clicking heels were just part of her daily routine. She belonged here now, and everyone knew it. Good morning, Maya, called Jennifer from accounting, waving as she headed toward the elevators. How's Lily doing in the new childcare center? She loves it, Maya replied with a smile that still felt too good to be true some days. Yesterday she told me she wants to be a marketing princess when she grows up. The Pinnacle Family Care Center had been Daniel's first major policy change after that life-changing Friday. Located on the second floor, it provided on-site childcare for employees, emergency backup care, and even after-school programs. Lily was one of the first children enrolled, and she'd made friends with kids whose parents worked throughout the building. Maya checked her watch. She had 15 minutes before her team meeting, enough time to stop by and see how Lily was settling into her morning routine. The childcare center was bright and cheerful, nothing like the sterile corporate environment she'd once feared. Children's laughter echoed through colorful rooms filled with books, toys, and learning stations. Mommy. Lily ran over, wearing a paint-splattered smock over her favorite purple dress. Look what I made. She held up a finger painting that looked like a rainbow exploding in the best possible way. It's our new apartment. See the big windows and the playground outside? Maya's heart swelled. Their new apartment was indeed everything Lily had drawn and more. 2 bedrooms, a real kitchen with a dishwasher, and yes, a playground right outside their window. For the first time in years, Maya wasn't worried about rent. Wasn't calculating grocery budgets down to the penny. Wasn't lying awake wondering how she'd pay for Lily's school supplies. It's perfect. Baby, Maya said, giving her daughter a gentle hug. I'll see you for lunch, okay? Okay. We're making cookies today, and Miss Rachel said I can save one for you. Maya headed to the elevator, still marveling at how much had changed. Her salary of $72,000 had transformed their lives completely. But more than that, she felt valued and respected in ways she'd never experienced before. The 20th floor buzzed with activity as Maya arrived at the marketing department. Her team was working on 3 major campaigns, and Maya had already proven herself invaluable. Her fresh perspective and understanding of real customer needs had impressed clients and colleagues alike. Maya, perfect timing, called Alex, the marketing director who'd become both a mentor and friend. The Peterson Bakery campaign just won the Small Business Excellence Award. Maya beamed. Mrs. Peterson's little bakery had become one of their flagship success stories. What started as a favor for a neighbor had turned into a comprehensive marketing strategy that increased Peterson's sales by 200% and led to 2 additional locations. It was Maya's first official project at Pinnacle, and its success had opened doors to bigger opportunities. "Daniel wants to see you in his office," Alex continued. "Something about the community outreach program." Maya knocked on Daniel's door, still feeling a flutter of gratitude every time she saw him. His office was warm and welcoming, with family photos scattered across his desk and, yes, Lily's rainbow drawing framed on the wall behind him. "Maya, come in. I have some exciting news." Daniel gestured to the chair across from his desk. "Remember the proposal you submitted about the scholarship program for single parents?" Maya nodded. She'd been working on the idea for weeks. A program that would provide marketing scholarships and mentorship for single parents trying to re-enter the workforce or advance their careers. It was personal for her, remembering how hard it had been to find opportunities when employers saw her situation as a liability rather than an asset. The board approved it. Daniel announced, his smile wide. "Not only approved it, but they want to fund it at twice the level you requested. We're calling it the Second Chances Scholarship Program, and we want you to head it up." Maya felt tears spring to her eyes. "Daniel, I don't know what to say. Say you'll take on the additional responsibility. It comes with a promotion to senior marketing manager and a salary increase to $85,000. Maya laughed through her tears. "Yes, of course, yes." "There's something else," Daniel said, his expression becoming more serious. "I wanted you to know that Victoria and Robert are no longer with the company." Maya's smile faded. "What happened? After what occurred that day, I had HR conduct a full review of their hiring practices. It turns out you weren't the first qualified candidate they'd dismissed for personal circumstances. We found a pattern of discrimination that was completely unacceptable. I hope they find other opportunities," Maya said quietly. Despite how they'd treated her, she didn't take pleasure in their misfortune. "That's exactly the kind of grace that makes you perfect for this new role," Daniel said. "Victoria actually reached out last week. She wanted to apologize and asked if she could volunteer for the scholarship program. People can change, Maya. Sometimes they just need to see their mistakes clearly." Maya was quiet for a moment, thinking about second chances and how they applied to everyone, even people who had hurt her. The rest of the morning flew by in a whirlwind of meetings and planning sessions. Maya found herself energized by the challenges, excited about the campaigns they were developing, and grateful for colleagues who valued her input. At lunch, she sat with Lily in the bright cafeteria, watching her daughter chatter excitedly about her morning. Lily had thrived in this environment, becoming more confident and social. She'd even started a little art club with other children in the care center. "Mommy, Tyler's daddy says his company doesn't have a place for kids like ours does. Why don't all companies have kid places?" "That's a very good question, sweetie. Maybe someday they will. Maybe when I'm a marketing princess, I can help make kid places everywhere." Maya smiled, remembering her own childhood dreams and how distant they'd seemed during those desperate months. Now anything felt possible, not just for her, but for Lily too. That afternoon, Maya received her first application for the Second Chances Scholarship Program. It was from a single father named Kevin who'd been out of work for 6 months after his company downsized. His story sounded familiar, the struggle to balance job searching with parenting, the judgment from potential employers, the slowly dwindling savings. Maya picked up her phone and dialed Kevin's number. "Hello, this is Maya Rodriguez from Pinnacle Marketing Group. I'd love to schedule a time to talk with you about our scholarship program and some opportunities we have available." As she spoke with Kevin, Maya thought about that terrible, wonderful Friday 3 months ago. The day that had started with $47 in her bank account and had ended with a job offer that changed everything. The day she'd learned that sometimes the worst moments can transform into the best beginnings. That evening, Maya and Lily walked home from the office building, something they never could have imagined doing before. Their apartment was just 6 blocks away, in a safe neighborhood with good schools and that playground Lily loved so much. "Mommy," Lily said as they waited for the crosswalk light, "remember when we were sad about money and you cried sometimes when you thought I was sleeping?" Maya's breath caught. She hadn't realized Lily had noticed. "I remember, baby. Are we not sad about money anymore?" "No, sweetie. We're not sad about money anymore. Good, Lily said matter-of-factly. Now you only cry when we watch movies about puppies. Maya laughed, squeezing her daughter's hand. Those are happy tears, though. I know. Happy tears are different. They sparkle. As they crossed the street toward home, Maya reflected on everything that had changed. Her bank account, certainly. Their living situation, absolutely. But more than that, she'd found her voice again, her confidence, her sense of worth. She'd learned that sometimes the people who seem most powerful are actually looking for the same things everyone else is. Kindness, understanding, and the chance to make a difference. 6 months later, the Second Chances Scholarship Program had helped 43 single parents find meaningful employment. Lily had started first grade at the excellent school down the street. And Maya had been promoted again, this time to Director of Community Impact Marketing. Sometimes, late at night when Lily was asleep, Maya would think about that woman who'd walked into Pinnacle Marketing Group carrying her daughter and a folder full of hopes. That woman who'd been ready to give up after facing rejection and judgment. She'd learned that the most important interview question isn't, can you do the job? But will someone give you the chance to prove you can do the job? And sometimes, if you're very lucky, the answer is yes.